Welcome to the SIWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SIWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. I'm your host, Luki, and for today's topic, I thought we'd get into mentors. So for those that have followed me, you know that one of my goals is to weave mentorship into the fabric of society, starting by making Toronto the mentorship capital of the world. And what that means is that everybody should have 5, 10 mentors, or as many mentors as they need in order to get the guidance and advice that they want. And more importantly, everyone should have 5 or 10 mentees, people that they are providing their own guidance and advice to those in the next generation or those maybe in a different stage of life. So when we talk about mentors, it's probably a good idea to clarify a little bit about what it is. The Webster's dictionary basically says it's a trusted counselor or a guide, right? And it actually comes from the Odyssey. So there's a epic Greek Roman poem or story that talks about Odysseus, and he has a friend named Mentor who basically trusted him to become the teacher of his son. So mentor is where we kind of get that traditional view of what a mentor is, kind of the old, wise, white bearded gentleman who has lots of experience and is able to share their wisdom out there. And although that's true in the story, that's not necessarily what's true out there, where if you actually think about mentors, they don't actually have to be someone who is old. Now, it generally is beneficial if someone has gone through some years of life or some experience in order to provide some feedback. But actually, nowadays, because there's so many young people who have actually gone through a lot of different experiences, a lot of mentors can actually be quite young, right? So you don't have to be 65 and retired in order to become a mentor. You could be 20 or 30 and have started your own business or climbed up the ranks into a company or whatever, or done something from a physical or spiritual or mental perspective that you feel would be helpful and conducive to something that you want to do in the future. So keep in mind that you don't necessarily want to restrict yourself from having a mentor as being someone who's older. Now, again, that's generally the case, but oftentimes you can actually seek others around you, peers, and even some people that are younger than you who have had more or different experiences than you for you to learn from. Another thing that a mentor is not is permanent, right? So it's not like getting married and you have to kind of put a ring on it and you get on your knee and say, will you be my mentor, that sort of thing. Well, it's someone that you're asking for guidance and advice with. And you'll actually find that mentors might actually come in and out of your life. You might have one mentor that gives you great guidance and advice early in your career, and then as you get older, maybe you surpass that person, or maybe you just go into a different area and you're looking for different priorities or different things to get some guidance and wisdom from, right? So it's not necessarily that you have to have that kind of very formal relationship where you have to kind of put a ring on it and sign papers in order to understand and meet expectations. A mentor could be just someone that you're reaching out to on a periodic basis and asking for guidance and advice. Hey, what would you do if you were in my situation? What are some of the things that I'm missing? What are some of the things that I'm not thinking about, right? So they don't have to necessarily be kind of a permanent or formal relationship that is brought to you by some sort of mentoring program. Ideally, you're actually seeking out mentors yourself and finding people that you feel that you could learn from. And a mentor is not necessarily exclusive, right? It's not that you can only have one mentor, right? And I actually borrow from my friend who says that they have a personal board of directors, right? So these are a bunch of mentors that actually connect, and he provides or he connects with on a periodic basis to get guidance and wisdom from them based on his current situation, what he's working on now, what he's working on next. And they can lend their wisdom from their various perspectives. And it can also benefit you from having multiple mentors, maybe in the same area, maybe in different areas, so that you can get varying perspectives. Maybe someone will treat it from a perspective that's very similar to yours, and you might follow them in terms of being able to relate to their situation. And you might find someone who is totally contrary and from a totally different area from yourself. And that person puts a different lens and helps you think of things that you didn't even think about, and hopefully opens some blind spots to you, and different ways of thinking, so that you're not kind of stuck and looking at only one lens. Um, and a mentor also does not have to be necessarily someone that you've met before, right? So I'm an advocate of learning from others, and by reading books or listening to podcasts or watching inspirational videos or whatever it is, finding people whose messages that you believe in and actually follow them. Following those words of wisdom and turning them from knowledge into action, and incorporating them into your own beliefs, your own value systems, and the habits and activities that you do on a day-to-day basis. So a mentor might not actually be someone that you've met before, and in the coming weeks I'll actually be sharing some information on some of the mentors that have helped me in my life, and hopefully provide you some insights, or some pathway into some of the resources that they have, so that you can learn from them as well. So one of the questions that I'm often asked when we speak about mentorship is, well, how do I find one? Well, I'd probably put it in a couple of steps, where you want to start with, first of all, knowing what you want to be mentored on, right? So we talked about having potentially multiple mentors. So is what you're looking to be mentored on from a work context, right? From schools or studying. So if you're in school, you might be looking for an upper year person, someone who is, you're in first or second year, someone who's in third and fourth year, who's kind of been there and done that. You might take a look at alumni, someone who's already graduated the program and out in the world, in the industry, and maybe even has the job that you want, or at least the job that you want to be having when you graduate. Is it someone who works with you, a colleague, someone that's more senior than you in your organization, or maybe in a different organization? Maybe someone in the industry that has kind of gone through their careers and gone through it in a way that seems interesting for you. Um, is it someone from a relationship perspective? So how they deal with their friends, their family, someone that you look up to, that someone that you could potentially model, so that you can get some of their wisdom and insights in order to live your own life, right? Could it be someone from a mindset, a spiritual, a life perspective, where their beliefs and their values seem like the way that you want to be living your life, whether it's kind of taking things in a carefree way, where a lot of the stresses and anxieties of the world don't get to them as much, or someone who's very committed and driven, who spends a lot of time with family, or really has an outstanding attitude towards the environment or anything that they care about, right? Who is someone from a mindset perspective that you admire? It could be from a financial perspective, someone who does a good job at saving or budgeting, or whatever it is that's important for you from a mindset, from a financial perspective. Could it be a health mentor, someone who sleeps well, who eats nutritious food and makes good decisions, and exercises and puts movement into their day, so that they can take care of their body, and by taking care of their body, they can have a better life, or more foundational life, in order to do all the other things? Or is there just a general area of interest, where you might be interested in learning the guitar, or a new language, or some sort of skill, or to how to code, or whatever it is that you want to be learning? Is there someone in that area? So first of all, when you think about someone in one of those areas that you want to get into, thinking about the people who are doing that, and doing it the best out of all the folks that you know, right? Or asking friends and saying, hey, I'm really interested in finding someone who can teach me about whatever it is, health or work or whatever it is. Who do you know that is the best in your realm? So if you don't particularly have a contact, then leverage your network and leverage your connections to see if they know other people, because you might not know someone, but someone oftentimes knows someone. So leveraging your network to expand your own network and finding mentors. And oftentimes it's reaching out for them, right? It's not making that commitment right up front and saying, will you be my mentor? Just getting to know them a little bit more, right? So finding more about their life story, and seeing how much of it parallels or is different than yours. If it's parallel, then you kind of can see the path that you can take forward. If it's different, you can see, oh, wow, I never considered doing that in that way. And maybe that inspires you to approach things in a slightly different way. So when you engage with someone who's a potential mentor, be curious, be interested, ask them lots of questions in terms of that experience that they've been having that is similar or different than yours. And ideally, add your own perspective. So give them a little bit more context, add kind of details or nuances that they might not have been asking you about, and seeing what sort of things might be helpful for them to know. And ideally, if you can actually make that mentoring relationship a two-way street, where it's not just the mentor giving you information and help and value, but you're also providing the mentor some value. So if you can get to know some of their opportunities or challenges that they're going through and looking to add value to them, then that will definitely help the mentoring relationship continue on over the years. So that's a couple of things and a couple of thoughts that I encourage you to think about from a mentorship perspective. So it's really just a trusted counselor or guide, someone that can help provide some insights and guidance. They don't necessarily have to be someone who's older than you, right? So a lot of people ask me, like, how many mentors or who are my mentors? And I actually like to say that everybody is my mentor. I actually say that I have something to learn from everyone that I connect with. And for some people, it's actually what not to do, because some people aren't great examples of what to do, but sometimes they could be good warnings of what would happen if you don't do things in a certain way. But I firmly believe that I have something to learn from everyone that I encounter. And from some people, it's actually multiple things and many things over the course of the years. So it could be anyone, really. It doesn't have to be someone who's older, kind of the Odysseus's mentor, the old man. Doesn't necessarily have to be that. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone who is permanently your mentor, right? So it's not necessarily a commitment, although it would be great from their perspective if you were around for a while. It doesn't have to be necessarily exclusive, right? So you don't necessarily only have to have one mentor. You can have multiple mentors. And you could have a variety of them over time as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that you've met before as well. So I encourage you to think of mentors that you could possibly have and go out there and get a mentor, and more importantly, go out there and be a mentor. Thanks for joining us on the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Luki Danu, LUKIDANU, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.